Hello, hello. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how I saw Tame Impala live when I was supposed to be at work. Okay, so this all begins a little bit after the pandemic, and I basically wanted to go into the Outside Lands Music Festival. And I remember at the time it was sold out, and it was going to be on Halloween Day. So I needed a way to get into it there was no tickets. And so I was like, man, I want to be there. I love that festival. And I decided to apply to work there, being a person that's born into the working class, it's kind of the entryways. So I applied, I got in, and they ended up hiring me to work the Outside Lands Music Festival. That year we had Tame Impala headlining, I think, on Saturday night. And they had hired me to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe. I don't remember, honestly. It's been a little while. Basically, I decided to work it because I wanted to be at the event. And then when I found out who the headliners were, I decided to start doing a little bit of research just so that I would be familiar with the music that's playing. And so that I can know what's happening, when we're there at the actual park. So I started looking into Tame Impala's discography. I started looking into his work, his songs, and I spent so much time listening to everything. And I literally fell in love with it so much. It was so my cup of tea. It was hilarious. So I fell in love with it. There was so much to discover. All these covers, all this lore, but it was also mysterious. It was very good. And I basically became a super fan. Not a super fan. I just loved it. But I don't know. Call me whatever you want. But I loved it. And I realized this would be actually really cool to see. Right? So there I was in San Francisco. I decided to go work. It was Friday. They had us working 12-hour shifts, and it was super exhausting. So I remember on the Friday night, I was extremely exhausted, and my feet were hurting a lot. And I was talking to one of my coworkers. And at that point, everything had changed, guys. I get it at the beginning. I wanted to go because of the festival. But at this point, knowing that I had the opportunity to see Tame Impala, and it was at the Outside Lands Festival as a headliner, I was like, whoa, I have to see this. I can't even, I'm so passionate about music, but not only that, I found an artist that I felt I would, resonated with so much in terms of what he sings about and, the vibes and how it's mostly moods. Then I was like, oh, hell yeah, dude. So I talked to my friend, and I remember vividly to this day, I told her, hey, I don't think I'm going to come in tomorrow. I think I'm going to go watch the concert instead. And she literally said, what is there even to think about, girl? Obviously, you should go watch the concert. What are you talking about? And I said, you're right, I should. This is probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so the next day, I went first to the hotel in the night. I slept at the hotel. And then the next day, I went into the park like I was going to work. And instead of going into work, I went straight to the beginning of the stage. It was noon, and then Tame Impala went on at 8 p.m. So from noon to 8 p.m., I stood there and sat there and talked with a whole bunch of other super fans that were waiting for Tame Impala to come on 8 hours later. I saw tattoos, blankets, I saw all kinds of things, outfits inspired. It was awesome. And I got to hide in the crowd. I would say about 5, 6 p.m., it was already getting pretty crowded. We had Nelly come on. So it was, it was coming, it was popping already. So by that point, I don't think my boss was probably scouring through the crowds to try and find me. They always had extra people and stuff. But yeah, so that's the story. I think that day was so significant to me for many reasons. I had a big transition going on in my personal life at the same time. But not only that, I realized while I was at the concert that this is what I wanted to do with my life in this way. And the experience that he created for me as a consumer was so amazing that I said, whoa, I want to replicate this and be able to give this to other people myself.